Typically, business owners have tons of great ideas. And a lot of times they love to get started, and there's a huge satisfaction in crossing it off on the end. However, that messy middle can get tough because it's in the middle where a lot of the work happens that's kind of mundane and repetition. And it's hard to work through that. Here's a strategy that you can use if you're stuck in the messy middle. Lean into your strengths. One of the assessments that I use to help clients figure out what are some of their strengths is the Everything Disc Workplace Profile. And in that, all that data, there is a page that explains your motivators and your stressors. And when you can lean into your motivators more and do less of your stressors, it's a lot easier to work in general, and especially if you're stuck in the middle of a project. One of the motivators for one of my clients is just the act of completion. And you can see how if you have this really big, long project, it's hard to have that completion piece because it's so far away. However, he now looks at 30-minute blocks as a point of completion. So every time he works 30 minutes, he checks off that he's completed a section of the longer project. One of my clients is really motivated by making an impact. And this project that she's working on is going to make a huge impact in the world. And it's going to take a long time to get there. And so to keep her motivated through the messy middle, she has actually written into her action steps what the impact the project will have for her clients and for her colleagues and for all these stakeholders. So every third or fourth action step, at the end of the action step, is actually the value statement of what people will get when the project is complete. And that brings back front of mind for her what is the impact that she'll be making on the world. That's helping her get through the messy middle and then cross this big project off as completed at the end. Celebrating your wins along the way is a great way to stay motivated when you're in the middle of a project. The easiest way to do that is to chunk the project down into smaller pieces, and then at each of those milestones, assign a reward to it. And the rewards can vary. It depends on the type of project and how big the action steps are. It could be something as small as ordering new markers and sticky notes to taking a long weekend to celebrate getting a major milestone done. It could be an extra 20 minutes on Zoom catching up with a colleague that isn't all business related, or meeting a friend for coffee in the middle of the day. You pick the reward that most motivates you and assign those every couple action steps as you're working through a project to help you get to the end of the project. One of the ways that I stay motivated when self-motivation isn't exactly working as well as I'd like is I'll bring in external accountability. I will bring in someone else to help keep me focused and on track and doing the things that I want to do. Some of the keys to external accountability is making sure that you have skin in the game and that you're somewhat intimidated by the person that you're being accountable to, or at least that's one of my keys. So when I say skin in the game, typically that's financial. And then I need someone who I can't overpower with my personality, or someone that I can't convince that I had legitimate reasons for not getting my work done. If I'm worried about letting someone down or concerned that someone would think less of me, I am way more motivated to make sure I get my work done. Some examples of external accountability could be a coach, a mentor, an advisor, a mastermind group, possibly a group of colleagues that meets informally. Someone from the outside helping you to stay focused is an excellent way to get tough projects completed. One of my clients is really struggling to get a big project done. She wants to create a training program for her staff. And as we discuss it, she just keeps getting this roadblock and keeps getting this roadblock. How long should it be? What pieces should be in it? Who's gonna create it? Where's she gonna store it? Is she gonna put it on a certain type of a platform? And the questions are endless, which is keeping her from starting. So her first step isn't to answer any of those questions. Her first step, her first smallest step, is actually just to brainstorm. Get everything that's in her head down on a piece of paper, not figuring out how to organize it, not figuring out how to categorize it, nothing. Just brain dump everything onto a piece of paper. That's the first step. And then from there, we can create what the structure of the project looks like. But if you're struggling right now to get started on a big project, more than likely you're overthinking it and there's a lot in your head. Instead, just dump it out on a piece of paper, get it all out there. Then you can start to organize. Sometimes it can be really tough to get started on a big project, especially if you feel that there's a right way to do it. There's that idea that everyone does it this way, so you have to do it that way. And it may not be the best way that you work. An example, one of my clients was writing a book and she had the outline done, but she was struggling to move forward on getting the book completed. And she felt as if she needed to write the book from the beginning to the end, straight through. Not straight through in one sitting, but chapter 1, then chapter 2, then chapter 3. However, her book each chapter was its own story and its own example to a different concept, which meant that she could write the book chapter 2, then chapter 9, then chapter 6, then chapter 12, then maybe chapters 3, 4, and 5 in a row. Whatever she felt in the moment was the most impactful and the easiest for her to sit down and to get out of her head and onto paper. Don't get stuck trying to do things the way that you think you should do them. Lean into your strengths. Think outside the box and look for what's the easiest way for you to move this project forward. Often when my clients are feeling stuck in a project and they're struggling to move through the messy middle, it has nothing to do with their motivation, which seems odd because that's what you would originally think, that we want to create some structure around how to help them get motivated in the middle, like, breaking it down to small pieces and doing rewards, bringing in external accountability, leaning into their strengths, like all these different ways that we can help get through the middle when we're stuck there. However, sometimes it's not that at all. Sometimes it's a lack of self-care. It's hard to be motivated when you're tired. If you're struggling with a project right now and you're realizing that it just feels like you can't get your brain all together, take a step back. Lean into all those things you've heard that you should be doing for yourself and pick one: eating, sleeping, or exercising. Start there and see if that doesn't help some of the brain fog disappear, which then helps you motivate a little bit easier into getting that big project completed. I recently spoke at a conference, and at the end of my presentation, one of the participants raised her hand and asked, should I do the hardest thing first thing in the morning? And my answer, as it almost always is it depends. Because there is no one right answer to any productivity question. Because we are all different people with all different motivators and different learning styles and different biological rhythms and different priorities. And for me to say, yes, you absolutely have to do the toughest thing first thing in the morning, that's only going to be true for a certain set of people at a certain time with certain things. Instead, you want to make sure that you're taking what's most important to you, maybe the toughest thing, and lining it up with the time of day that you're best likely to be able to accomplish that task. Set yourself up for success every day by making sure what's most important to you is scheduled to do at the time that is easiest to do it.